All right, so let's dive into this research you sent.
Okay.
It seems like you really want to nail those digital investment proposals,
Yeah.
especially for big tech projects. Because getting those approved can be tough, you know?
Yeah.
It's almost like you have to translate tech speak into something anyone can understand.
Right.
So based on this material, the secret weapon might be storytelling.
You're right. Storytelling is super powerful, but kind of underrated for business cases,
Interesting.
especially for digital stuff where the concepts can be tricky, you know?
Yeah.
A good story can really help get everyone on the same page.
Okay, intrigued. But we're not talking fairy tales, right? This article, The Power of Storytelling in Digital Business Case Development, that seems to be the core of all this.
It is. It lays out a practical framework for crafting narratives that really work.
Okay.
It helps you connect the dots between the tech and the business outcomes.
So I'm seeing the potential here, but I gotta be honest. My brain immediately goes to, but wait, shouldn't a business case be all about data? Where does storytelling fit in?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's where a lot of people, they get tripped up.
Okay.
Think about it. C-suite execs, they're bombarded with info all day.
Right.
They need something to cut through all the noise, something that helps them grasp the impact of an investment.
Mm-hmm.
A good story, a well-structured story, does exactly that.
I see. So it's about making the numbers meaningful.
Yeah,
Not just showing the data, but demonstrating how it translates into results.
exactly.
Results that matter to the business.
Precisely. It's about painting a picture of the future,
Yeah.
showing how this technology can solve their problems, create opportunities,
Yeah.
and ultimately drive the business forward.
Okay.
The article does a great job at breaking down how to build that value-driven story.
Okay, let's unpack that then. Where do we even begin?
Well, the first step is aligning your digital initiatives with the company's strategic objectives.
Okay.
You know, it's not enough to just say, this new system will improve uptime.
Right.
You need to go further and show how that uptime means more transactions, which could lead to more revenue or happier customers.
So lead with the impact, not the tech itself.
Yes, you connect those dots, make the value tangible.
But it's not just about painting a rosy picture, right? We can't ignore costs and risks.
Right, you're right. It's got to be balanced. Transparency is key here.
Okay.
Be upfront about those costs and risks, but frame them within the bigger picture of value.
I see.
For example, you could say, this initiative has a big upfront investment,
Yeah.
but it'll reduce these security risks and ultimately give a great return on investment over time.
So acknowledge the full picture, but emphasize how the good outweighs the bad.
Exactly. And metrics can really help you here.
Okay.
Things like ROI or net present value, to back up your financial narrative.
Speaking of metrics,
Yeah,
this is where I get lost sometimes.
Yeah.
How do we pick the right ones? The whole world of data out there.
that's true. Not all metrics are equal. You got to be strategic. Tailor the story to your audience.
Okay.
The CFO probably want to hear about ROI and things like that, but the CEO might be more focused on market share or customer happiness.
So it's knowing your audience and using metrics that matter to them.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it like that before.
It makes a big difference.
Okay.
And remember, even qualitative stuff like company culture or customer experience can be quantified.
Oh.
For example, you can measure employee satisfaction or customer retention rates.
Interesting.
Make those intangible benefits tangible and measurable.
This is really eye-opening. I'm seeing how this all fits together. But one thing I'm wondering, how do we make sure our story is believable and not just a bunch of projections?
Transparency, again, is key. The article really stresses that being upfront about your assumptions is important. If your projections depend on certain market conditions or customer behavior, you got to make those assumptions clear.
So lay out our reasoning. Show that our projections are based on solid analysis.
Exactly. This builds credibility and helps stakeholders understand your logic.
Right.
It shows you've done your homework and your story is grounded in reality.
Okay, this is starting to make sense.
Good.
We've talked about aligning with goals, using the right metrics, being transparent.
Right.
But how do we actually structure all this into a compelling narrative? It's a bit much.
I hear you. That's where the article introduces a great tool, the Digital Investment Storyboard Framework.
Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah.
This sounds like what I need. Tell me about this framework. What makes it so special?
Well, it's all about keeping your story streamlined, impactful.
Okay.
It's built around 4 principles. Less is more, clear and simple, credible, and show, don't tell.
Those sound like good guidelines,
Yeah.
but they're a little abstract right now.
Sure.
Could you break those down? Like, what do they look like in practice?
Absolutely. So less is more, right? It's tempting to try and cram every detail in, but that can actually backfire because your audience, they're busy. They don't have time for info overload.
Right.
Just focus on the key benefits and value drivers.
So be selective.
Yeah.
Prioritize what really drives the story.
Exactly. Now, clear and simple.
Yeah.
It's all about using language that everyone gets.
Okay.
Avoid jargon, buzzwords, as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone's a tech expert.
Right.
You want everyone from the CEO to the newest team member to understand.
Makes sense. Meet your audience where they are.
Yeah.
What about credible? How do we make sure our story feels grounded?
Data. Data's your best friend here.
You're okay.
Always back up your claims with evidence.
Right.
Metrics like time saved, increased transactions, cost reductions, that kind of thing.
So, Shano, don't just tell.
Exactly. Now, show, don't tell. This is where you bring it to life.
Okay.
Use visuals, charts, graphs, even prototypes to really demonstrate how it'll work.
So, like, instead of just talking about it, show them.
Yes. Like a cooking show versus just reading a recipe.
Right, I get it.
So now you've got the framework, but putting together the story is just one piece.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You gotta deliver it well, too.
Oh, yeah, the presentation itself.
Yeah.
Public speaking is scary enough, let alone when you're asking for a big investment.
I hear ya.
Do you have any tips for making sure the presentation, really lands?
Definitely. Remember, you've got a good story now. It's about the delivery.
Okay.
First tip, know your audience.
This sounds familiar. Is this like what we said about choosing the right metrics?
Exactly. If you're talking to a CFO, you want to emphasize the financial stuff.
Like the ROI and all that?
Yeah. But if it's the CEO, maybe focus on how it fits with the company vision, growth strategy.
So tailor the message to who's in the room.
Right. You wouldn't give the same presentation to engineers as you would to the board.
Exactly.
Knowing your audience is key.
Okay, so once we know who we're talking to,
Yeah.
how do we grab their attention right away?
You need a strong hook, something that grabs them and makes them want to hear more. It could be a shocking statistic, a customer story that really highlights a problem you're solving, or even a bold claim backed up with data.
Ooh, I like that. A bold claim, like
Yeah.
this initiative will increase our market share by 20% in the next year.
Exactly. A bold statement gets their attention, especially if you back it up later.
Right. Then we go into the details.
Yeah, unpack the story.
Explain how we'll achieve those results.
Right, but keep it engaging.
Yeah.
Use vivid language, real-world examples,
Yeah.
those visuals we talked about.
So don't just recite numbers. Make them see what's possible.
Right, take them on a journey.
I like that.
And lastly, don't forget to make the ask.
The ask. What's that?
Be clear about what you want from your audience.
Yeah.
Whether it's funding, resources, just their buy-in, don't leave them guessing.
So have a clear call to action.
Yes. It's surprising how often people present great ideas, but don't say what they need.
Right.
By being direct, you're more likely to get the support you need.
Makes sense. This framework is really helpful. It's like a roadmap. It is.
For turning data into a story that motivates people.
That's exactly it.
And it's funny how storytelling is so fundamental to us.
It is.
We're wired to connect with stories,
Right.
They help us understand the world, remember things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that saying, facts tell, but stories sell.
It's true. Stories, they can bypass our logic and speak to our emotions, our values, what we want,
Right.
That's why they're so powerful for change, especially in business.
I'm seeing storytelling in a whole new light now.
All right.
It's not just a nice skill to have, it's essential.
Yeah.
It can really make or break your digital projects.
I agree. If you can master storytelling, you can turn that complex data into something that persuades decision makers and ultimately drives real change.
It's like painting a picture of the future you want and getting people excited to be part of it.
Exactly. This has been great. Really insightful.
Yeah, I feel like I have a whole new set of tools now.
It's like you gave me the code to how decision makers think.
I like that.
But before we wrap up,
Sure.
what's the one big takeaway you want to leave our listener with?
I'd say this. Your data's already telling stories.
Okay.
It's up to you to find those stories, shape them, and use them to get people on board with your vision.
Interesting.
Look at the data you have. What trends do you see? What's it telling you?
Yeah.
How can you turn those insights into narratives that resonate with your audience?
Wow. So we're not just dealing with numbers.
Well-
We're dealing with hidden stories.
Exactly. And by mastering data storytelling, you can unlock the real power of digital transformation.
So move beyond the jargon, beyond the spreadsheets, and connect with people on a human level.
That's it.
Inspire them to change, to build a better future.
Well said. This was a fantastic deep dive. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I always enjoy these conversations.
Me too.
And to our listener, I hope this gave you a new way of thinking about storytelling.
I hope so.
Remember, you have the data, you have the passion, and now you have the tools to craft those compelling stories, to get your audience on board and move your digital initiatives forward.